Hi everyone, this is our third astrology adventure. I'm going to do my best to talk a little more slowly this time, both for your sake and for my sake also. We are reading through Esoteric Astrology, and we are trying to make certain correlations and get the larger picture about this new approach to astrology, which is the astrology of the soul. The true astrology of the soul cannot yet be formulated because we do not have the insight to know the exact moment at which the soul was individualized. We would have to go back either to the moon chain for many people of the more advanced sort, even to the first solar system, and at the very earliest to Morya, to discover the moment, the time of individualization, which may well color the quality of the soul and its relationship to its form. But what we can do is use the individual horoscope in such a way that the methods of interpreting the planets account for soul influence. Every factor in an astrological chart can be understood in terms of the ordinary personality, or it can be seen as a conduit for soul energy. And this is what we are definitely interested in doing if we can. Let us review the second statement which we made. The Tibetan is offering us 2 or 3 statements that astrology is essentially the purest presentation of occult truth in the world at this time, because it is the science which deals with those conditioning and governing energies and forces which play through and upon the whole field of space and all that is found within that field. When this fact is grasped and the sources of those energies are better comprehended and the nature of the field of space is correctly understood, we shall then see a far wider and at the same time more closely related horizon. Let's see here. Yeah. The relationships between individual, planetary, systemic, and cosmic entities will be grasped, and we shall then begin to live scientifically. It is this scientific living which is the immediate purpose of astrology to bring about. At present, the position of the average believer in astrology is that he is an individual of importance, at least to himself, and that he is living on that important planet, the Earth, important to humanity, and that through astrology he can discover his identity and know what he ought to do. Well, of course, this is somewhat true. To us, we are important until we are decentralized, and to humanity the planet is important, and of course the planet is important to the planetary logos as well, since he has to bring his planet into a condition of sacredness, in which the fifth planetary initiation will be taken. Perhaps we can call it the fifth cosmic initiation. We'll get into that a little bit later. He is responsible for his planet, and humanity is responsible for itself, and we are responsible for ourselves. But if we take a much larger picture, our little planet is as a tiny speck, even in the galaxy, and certainly in the great cosmos. And our solar logos, as vast as he may be when we think of our planets and our own nature, is as a crystal, simply, to a much larger being, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is as a molecule or an atom to beings still greater. So we do want to develop this decentralized point of view. This does not mean that we do not try to observe ourselves as any student of occultism would do. We do seek to correct the energies and forces in our nature which are in the wrong pattern as far as the intention of the soul is concerned. But every once in a while it does not hurt to use the imagination to try to see as the Master sees, and I'm sure he tries to see as the Solar Logos sees and as still greater beings see. And this will serve to take us off the center of our own stage and help us play our part in a better way, a more appropriate way, with true humility. And humility has been said to be an adjusted sense of right proportion. Okay, so we want to know what we should do. I think everyone wants to know that. There are some astrologers here who possess real esoteric knowledge. He says they are few in number indeed, and only a handful of them can be found practicing at this time. Now, think about Dane Rudhyar, who was a friend of Alice Bailey, and who dedicated his great initial opus, The Astrology of Personality, to Alice Bailey. And DK did offer him, even though he was not a member of the Arcane School, because he was a world disciple, says DK, he did offer him the papers, the astrological papers that were coming out, because all of these books really appeared as papers first. Dane Rudhyar took good advantage of those and included some important references to them in his Astrology of Personality. But when I did meet him at one point, and I had an interview with him, it was, as a young astrologer, it was one of the high points of my life at the time. And at the time, I certainly confirmed that I had the sixth ray in my nature. Anyway, I asked him about the Bailey astrology, the Tibetan's astrology, and he said, well, it's not astrology as I know it, which, of course, was a very studied response, which I'm sure he had given to many people over the years when they asked about his relationship with the Bailey astrology. But he was one of the few astrologers who possessed real esoteric knowledge. Once I asked Marcia Moore, who was really a fine astrologer, I met her about 40 years ago back at a astrological conference, and I asked her, well, who practices esoteric astrology? And she said, as far as I know, Dane Rudhyar is the most esoteric astrologer that I know. So that was an eye-opener to me, and he certainly took astrology in his own direction, but he did not specifically use the Bailey system, but he did possess real esoteric knowledge. And since DK tells us that there were no initiate astrologers when he was writing, then to be an astrologer who possesses esoteric knowledge is not the same as to be an initiate astrologer, which is still higher. Now, by initiate astrologer, did he mean someone who had taken the third initiation? I don't know. Because when he gave the reason why Dane Rudyard was not a member of the groups that he was starting, he said because he is a world disciple. And a world disciple is an initiate of the third degree. So there are some things here to straighten out. So only a handful can be found practicing at this time. The modern investigator likes to believe that on him impinge and through him flow all those energies which come from the sign in which the sun finds itself at the time of his birth. Well, I do think there are solar energies which pass through that section of the aura, or lune, as it's called, just like a section of an orange. I do believe there are solar energies which pass through those particular lunes, or magnetic Davic aspects of the aura. And so the sun, in a way, finds itself in those signs, because when looking through that section of the Earth's magnetic field, you would see the sun. But of course, the particular lune, L-U-N-E, is not correlated with the stars which you would see behind the sun. Once it was, some 2,000 years ago, correlated, and if you looked through the auric section of the zodiac, which is called Aries, you would see the sun, and behind it, if you could eliminate the blinding light, you would see the constellation Aries. But that is no longer the case, and will not be the case for another maybe 23,900 years. So the average, the modern investigator, and of course so many people interested in astrology are not investigators at all. They are simply interested. They don't go into the matter in any scientific, studential manner. But those who do regard themselves as responsive to the forces of the various planets as they govern the houses in his horoscope. And he, the modern investigator, believes that his life trends and circumstances are thus determined. Well, they are certainly indicated. They are conditioned. But remember, we discussed the difference between that which governs and that which conditions and influences. So these trends and circumstances may not at all be determined, but there are a certain flow of possibilities which tend to occur, and then the individual, depending upon the degree of his soul focus and mental control, can direct these circumstantial flows according to his own mind and vision and destiny.